Hi, welcome to Nina in the Kitchen, where today we're making corned beef and just corned beef actually. So what I do is I buy this cryovac package of meat. It's brisket, and it's a delicious cut for corned beef. And what they do, the reason this is so red, is they put this in pink salt or saltpeter, so it's brined and it's aging well. And all that you have to do, supposedly, is take this little packet of spices and put that in, and that's your corned beef. Well, you know what? It doesn't work. So what I do is I supplement this packet, and that's what I'm going to show you how to do today. What corned beef is a cured brisket, or it's a cured beef, and brisket is really perfect for it. I'm going to cut this in half because it's such a big piece of meat. I'm going to add my spice mixes to it and put it in the fridge for a couple of days, 3 days, and then bring it out, and then I'll make corned beef and cabbage, which I love. And then from there, go into hash, corned beef hash, and finale, corned beef sandwich. It's just so good that, okay, so let's get to it. I'm going to open this package and then I'll be right back. So here I have this spice packet, and I can see there is what looks like chili peppers, there's thyme in here, and a lot of mustard seed. To that, you can add really anything that's aromatic. Cardamom, some people put cinnamon in there. Be careful with cinnamon. I have some bay leaf, which I'm going to break because I want that to release its flavors. So I'm just going to bend these leaves up a little bit. I have thyme. I put cloves in here and caraway seeds. Then in my spice grinder, I have whole peppercorns and allspice. Grind your spices, and then I wipe it out with a paper towel, or you can use a piece of bread, just grind the bread up, and that will get rid of any of the oils that are in there. So from one time to the next, it's cleaned, and so I'm just gonna whip this up really quick. Peppery. Now, if I had some mustard seed, I would absolutely use that in here, but I don't. And here go the bay leaves. So all of these spices are really aromatic, delicious. This is corning. The reason for calling it corning is, I guess back in the Middle Ages, Old English terms for curing meat was called corning because they used rock salt, and rock salt is in big chunks of salt. So anything that was chunky, spices, whole spices, that was called corn. So anyway, I'm going to cut this in half. This piece of meat is almost 7 pounds, and you'll see after I cook it, it's going to retain this nice red color because of the saltpeter in here. And now, when I bought this package, this was the presenting side. But when I opened it, this was the bottom with this fat cap. Leave the fat on there because fat is flavor, but also when you're boiling the meat, it's going to keep the juices in and protect the meat. So all I'm doing is I will put some holes in this meat. I'm going to massage this in really well. And then allow these herbs to really penetrate this meat. It's already brined, it's already cured. All that I have to do is put some flavor to this. So that's why, you know, if you see anything about corning meat, it takes weeks to do that. And frankly, I don't want to give up my refrigerator space for weeks for this. So I let somebody else do the curing, and I'll just add some flavor to it. So these pieces of meat are going into Ziploc bags. I have one bag for each of these guys. Goes onto a sheet pan, and I wouldn't put it directly on the pan because the salt in this meat may have some reaction to your pan. So just protect your pan with that. This goes on top, and I think I'll put a fry pan on top of that just to kind of weight it down. The meat is in these bags. I'm taking out as much air as possible. And I'll see you in 3 days. Hi, well, now it's 3 days later. The corned beef has been curing a little longer, and as have I. And so now we're ready to put it in the pot. I have all of these herbs that are on here, and I've debated whether I'm going to rinse them or not. I think I'm just going to leave it. The water's boiling, and what you want to do with meat that you're going to boil is once you have it up to boiling, you want to turn it down. You bring it up to a boil, BTB, bring to boil, reduce to simmer, RTS. So, and you want this meat to have about 1 inch of water covering it. And then you just simmer it. This will take, considering how thick that is, I'm guessing 3 hours, but I'll show you how to test it when it's done. It's just going to be fork tender. If you saw my pork video, same thing. The meat is just going to fall apart and be lovely and flavorful. And I guess I'm going to have to cook this second piece of beef separately because that's taking up too much room in there. So I'll see you in about 3 hours. Well, this meat just came out, and it's so tender, it was a show of engineering just to get it out in one piece. So this is the fat on top. And you can sort of just peel that off if you like. You can leave some on, you know, do whatever you want, but that's the fat cap that I spoke about the other day being on there. This is when I take it off, and that ensures that the meat below is nice and tender and juicy. And I just have to show that to you. This is how, look at this. It's like pasta. This is how tender this meat becomes. It's just fantastic. And you don't cut it, when you cut it at the dinner table, you want to cut against the grain. Not the long way that I showed you, but this will be fall apart. It's fabulous. Then the other things that I have are, I cut a small head of cabbage into 5 pieces, leaving the core on because you don't want these leaves flying around in the boiling water. I have 1 rutabaga. I just saw it and liked it, and so I bought this, but you know, they're so big. That's okay, I don't mind having leftovers. I have potato, these are boiling potatoes, carrots, and an onion. You can put parsnips or turnips or whatever flavor you want into this. But here's where they all go. Now what I'm going to do is drop all of these root vegetables first, and then after about 15 minutes or so, I'll put the cabbage into this pot and let them all boil in there. The water's seasoned, so there's nothing else that you have to do. This is one of the easiest dinners that you can make, and it's also very economical in that it feeds a crowd. You can put in as much or as little veg as you need, and that's it. Dinner's going to be on the table in about 40 minutes. See you then. What I've done is I put the meat back on top of these vegetables. Reason for doing that is just that I wanted to steam it. So while the vegetables cooked, the meat got warm again after I took it out of the pot. So here it is, the one pot wonder from New England, the New England boiled dinner. There's different boiled dinners actually. Yankee pot roast is considered one. I just wanted to show you this corned beef and how, now when I showed you earlier that this was a tender piece of meat now, I showed you with the grain running long ways. Now I'm cutting it against the grain. So what you do is you cut short pieces of beef. You don't even need a knife for this. You can see it just falls right apart. Look at that. So what happens is you're cutting these long strands into little short pieces, and they're very easy to chew, and that's what makes it so tender and delectable. A lot of people love this meal, not for this meal in particular, but for the leftovers, which is corned beef hash. I'm gonna have to do that. So in a couple of days, I'll get back to this. We'll make some corned beef hash. I hope you try this meal. It feeds many, as you can see. It's so easy to make. It just takes a little time, but if you have time, do it. I highly recommend it. A little butter, maybe a little vinegar for the cabbage, or just some of the pot juices. Great meal. Thank you guys so much for watching, and follow me on right here YouTube, like and subscribe, NinaInTheKitchen.net for recipes, and Facebook. Thank you so much. Bye guys.